I entered the world in the village of Great Beelings in England. I was born in this house on August the 19th, 1935. My father was in the Royal Air Force, stationed at nearby Martlesham Heath. When I was 11 months old, we accompanied my father to Abu Swair in Egypt. Here is my mother and my nanny posing in what can only be an air raid shelter. We returned to Britain after about 1 year. We stayed with my aunt, my mother's sister. In this rare 1938 16mm footage, I appear with my cousin Diana. This is my father with prominent widow's peak. My aunt and my mother clearly saying, "Go away." Here they're at a shooting party. Everything changed with the outbreak of World War II in September 1939. The skies over Britain were filled with the vapor trails of dogfights. Railway stations became scenes of wrenching separation. London was bombed every night for 57 consecutive nights, killing 40,000 civilians. Even I was briefly in uniform, but despite being within a few yards of the English Channel during the Battle of Britain and within sight of London burning during the Blitz, we followed my father all over the country and were fortunate to escape any personal loss. This house in Scotland had a bomb shelter in the garden, and I clearly recall searchlights probing the night sky. My father was promoted to group captain. Three weeks after my 8th birthday, I was put aboard a train in Edinburgh and sent to boarding school in the Highlands of Scotland. From Comrie Station, we had to walk a mile through woods to the big country house which was serving as the school. It was a magnificent building and a wonderful setting, but being a school, its charm was rather lost on us little boys. The discipline was very strict, with cold water baths every morning, even if the bath was skimmed with ice. And we played rugby football in the snow. When I visited the place over 50 years later, little had changed. But my research revealed that the standing stone we used to climb could have been an ancient phallic symbol. How much more exciting it would have been if we'd known this at the time. There were 104 boys at the school. Here I am, bottom left, in 1944, at age 8. And again in 1946. The school moved back to Edinburgh and its original premises later the same year. Here I am in 1947, age 11. It was just at this time that my mother decided to move south to Suffolk, into a house with no electricity, just in time for the coldest winter on record, when the mercury stayed in the bulb of the thermometer for weeks. We soon moved to another house called Five Gables in the same general area. Here my sister is perched atop one of the gables. In 1947, shortly after my 12th birthday, I moved to Sherborne School in Dorset. The school had over 800 boys, divided into different residential houses. And here I am in my first year at Abbey House. The history of education in Sherborne extends back to the 8th century. Various changes took place over the years until it formalized as a grammar school under a charter granted by King Edward VI in 1550. The adjoining abbey dates back to 705. Many of the buildings date from the time when they served as monks' cloisters. Beyond the dovecot are the steps to the chapel and the library, and here King George VI and the Queen of England stand on the same steps when they visited Sherborne to celebrate its 400th anniversary. Notables who attended this school include Alan Turing, considered to be the father of theoretical computer science, the author Le Carre, Jeremy Irons, and even the patriarch in Downton Abbey. I left Sherborne at age 16, and a few days after my 17th birthday, started work as an apprentice at the Havilland Aircraft Company in Hatfield. In those days, de Havilland's was a huge company with many factories. This is the main aircraft company. Across the other side of the airfield was the propeller company, which also made missiles. And at the very top of the photo, the apprentice school. The house was a hostel for apprentices, with the workshops in the background. Here I am, back row, second from the left, just 3 weeks past my 17th birthday. The machine shop is in the foreground, the hand-fitting benches behind, and the woodwork on the mezzanine floor. My mother had now moved again, this time to a thatched cottage near Pangbourne. This was a very rural area, and my sister had a horse. My interest led to cars, due to Colin standing next to me. My first car was a 20-year-old Fraser-Nash BMW, which I decided to strip down to the last split pin and rebuild in a more sporty form. Here is myself, Colin, and a fellow enthusiast with my BMW in the background. Here I am with the rear end constructed. This is the first version of the completed vehicle, and what it finally looked like after 2 years' work. 55 years later, I was able to track the car down in Germany, here photographed in 2009. During my 5-year apprenticeship, I also attended naval aircraft training. These are the last family photos before we went our separate ways. I fell in love with my first girlfriend, Carol, and then later with Sandy, cruelly just 2 weeks before she returned to her parents in Singapore, and I departed to seek my fortune in what was then southern Rhodesia. But that is for a later chapter.